We hit the live button. We hit the live button right now. We are live. Listen, what's going on, everybody? Christopher Bartley here. I'm here with Elijah A. Oliver. This is an amazing individual, and you're going to see in our new "What's Your Story." I say new because Elijah, this is like number 3. Okay, this is new. Okay,
Right.
and it's just a pleasure. It's just a pleasure to have you here. So, Elijah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly read your bio so that we can get into the meat of this thing, because I'm excited. I'm excited for what you are going to share with us today. I remember, listening to it in the past, before we decided to do this thing, before What's Your Story was even a thing. And I was like, oh yeah, we got to get this thing on camera. Like, there's no way that your story cannot not be shared. So anywho, I think that's like oh yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So I appreciate the invitation being accepted. So, all right, guys, let's go ahead and read Elijah's bio. As y'all can tell, I'm very unconventional in this. I'm telling you I'm about to read his bio as opposed to reading his bio, but that's okay. That's how we do it on the What's Your Story. It ain't a show, but experience. All right, guys. So Elijah A. Oliver, Sr. He's a student development coach where he is passionate about empowering first-year college students as he leverages his personal experiences and setbacks in high school and college to equip students with core strategies that enable them to do 2 things: to level up and to soar to new heights. But it's not just there, guys. Here's what gets interesting, because he's an entrepreneur and he's the founder and CEO of Take.F.L.Y.G.H.T. That's F.L.Y.G.H.T. Enterprises. And this is where he started in response to the ongoing desire for individuals wanting to pursue their lifelong dreams and aspirations. But he's also the author of From Takeoff to Touchdown: How to Experience Maximum Altitude, which is a story of motivation, perseverance, encouragement, conviction, and inspiration. And what this does is it provides a beacon of light and hope to those looking to experience maximum altitude. I got a question for you, Elijah, as I'm going through your bio. So I see here that maximum altitude is capitalized. Is that because there is maybe perhaps a patent pending kind of experience with maximum altitude, or it's just something that, probably one of the core trainings, maybe?
Absolutely. It's a bit of both, to be honest.
Okay.
Experiencing maximum altitude is really just about going to new levels in life, right? So when we think about an airplane and how it soars to new levels of altitude, the higher it goes, those are the levels of altitude. If you hear a pilot, we're soaring at 30,000, altitude, right? That's 30,000 feet, right? And so similar to us, we're supposed to be going to new levels in life. So at Take Flight Enterprises, we really want people to experience that, not just, okay, you're at a new level. No, experience it: the ups, the downs, the lessons, the setbacks, the comebacks, all of that. So that is the experience.
Okay. I like that. Listen up, guys. He's also a higher educational professional. So he's not just an entrepreneur. He's a professor who strives to address the needs and concerns of our youth, emerging college students and adults, which will provide them with a direct link between learning lifelong lessons, fiscal responsibility. I'm hoping the story that you share today deals with that. If not, that's okay. But that one right there, that was fiscal responsibility and an overall commitment to learning. Okay, so he also has over 20 years of experience in the student development, banking, and financial services arena, higher education, and social services field. Listen, I could go on, but I just want to welcome everybody, and you welcome him with me, Elijah A. Oliver, to the platform. Listen, this is exciting times only because you've got a wealth. You're almost like the Swiss Army of of like entrepreneur, higher learning, and financial, like the financial industry, like you and social work.
Social services, yeah. I did a lot of mentoring, case management, and visitation
So
specialist.
so you're gonna have an interesting time with this storytelling paradigm, because let's pull it up here. What we're doing today, guys, is we're going through one of Elijah's pivotal stories, which has made him who he is today. The decisions that he's made, the path that he's on, not just as an entrepreneur, but as a thought leader, as somebody who supports students in the higher ed space. And we're doing it in 7 plot points. Now, if you've seen the third one, or if you've seen the first and second one, the third one is pretty much the same, where we're going to begin with his backstory. The backstory is pretty much just the context. It's really the setup of where he is in the hero's journey. We call that the ordinary world. And then we move to the catalyst. Catalyst is where it's his call to adventure, the thing that kind of makes him or forces him to kind of make a decision to choose whether or not he's going to go on this particular path, this journey into the unknown. Then there's a big event. After he chooses to make or to answer the call, there's something not necessarily traumatic, but dramatic that does happen. It could be positive or negative. And this slingshots him into the midpoint. Now, the midpoint is where he is now deeply motivated to take the call that was given, and he is now proactively answering that call and moving forward in his story. But after you decide to do that, there's always a crisis. Something happens, something wrong happens, or something goes wrong, where you are forced then to ask yourself in this climax piece, who do I need to overcome, or what do I need to overcome in order to make this thing work? How do I overcome this thing in order to achieve the in order to achieve the goal, or to overcome the obstacle? And many times this climax, or this huge opposition, this final showdown, is yourself. So we're going to see that in this story, whether or not if it's somebody else, if it's a thing, or if it is indeed the person behind the mask is the person behind the mask, Elijah. And then the realization, or the conclusion. What did he finally realize at the end of this journey, or how did this journey end? Because oftentimes the journey is still going on, of course, because we're living, but there may be some high or very pivotal moments where your realization, your understanding of everything that has just happened just kind of comes to a head, and then you can move forward. And then after that, we do the life application, because it's great that we are listening to Elijah's story, but you have a story too, guys. And so we want to be able to just make sure that the principles of his story can be applied for you. All right. So Elijah, let's go ahead and rock this thing out. Oh, hey, look who showed up. Look who showed up. Aaron is on with us. Oh man, it's so good to see you, Aaron. And for those of you that don't know, just a quick plug. So Aaron was our very first our inaugural "What's Your Story" participant, and yeah, so shout out to Aaron for rocking this thing out with us. All right, so Elijah, let's talk about your backstory. And while you're talking, I'm going to be typing in some notes, and yeah, you know how that goes. So go ahead and start off for us.
Absolutely. So again, I appreciate the opportunity. It is truly a pleasure and honor to be here. So, in a nutshell, pretty laid back guy. I mean, my backstory is pretty much I was not the best student in high school. I'm originally from New York, but I've always known that, or had an idea rather, that I was gonna do something, right? Or I wanted to do something. Didn't obviously know what it was. I've always had a knack for entrepreneurship. Growing up, I would every season I had something to do, right? I did landscaping. I shoveled snow. Growing up, did the whole selling chips and quarter waters. I think nowadays they call them Huggies, whatever it is, but they were quarter waters. Right. And so I've always had a knack for entrepreneurship. Right. And so as I, got into high school and whatnot, and I wasn't the best, student. And so I did just enough to get by. I was literally class clown in my yearbook, not just he got jokes, but in my yearbook class clown. And so a lot of that was the starting point to a lot of the challenges that I faced, because I didn't take my education seriously in high school, didn't take it seriously. And that transitioned, to college and then throughout. And so In high school, again, was a C- student. Did just enough to get by. I almost didn't graduate. Almost didn't graduate. My high school history teacher came to me and said, "You may not graduate. You know, you may not graduate, right?" And he literally showed me all of my missed absences, all of my missed assignments, and literally just asked me what I wanted to do. And so I was at a turning point there because I had to make a decision, right? Okay, do I want to graduate in June with my friends or graduate in August by myself? So I thought I turned things around. So in a nutshell, again, being not understanding the value of an education, I didn't take it seriously, and that's really what started everything to my my academic journey.
Okay. Okay. And by the way, you can just continue talking through the story, and what I'll do is just start tracking or just kind of ask you,
Okay.
where we are. So we won't necessarily like to, okay, phase 2, phase 3,
Okay.
just kind of roll through it. Yeah. But now that you set this up, what was the catalyst? What was the call to adventure? Was it your teacher? Was that the catalyst, or is it kind of now this is where you were back then, but now there's a catalyst for something that has happened with you as an adult? This can go many ways. So it's really the ball is in your court, how you want to take that.
Right. So I think the catalyst for me was when I was a freshman, might have been sophomore. I think I was a freshman in college. So I had to go through a 6-week college preparatory program to prove myself, right? But I was at I think it was a American Express meeting or webinar, right? So I took advantage of career services in college. A few of my friends and I, just going out to, the director of career services would just send us on interviews, knowing that we weren't going to get the job, knowing that we didn't want the job, but just for that experience. And so I believe it was like an American Express interview or something like that. And a gentleman told us about the 3 freedoms. And I learned this as a freshman in college. So the 3 freedoms, right? So the time freedom, money freedom, and freedom to grow, right? The time freedom, wake up on your own clock, do what you want. You don't have to punch anybody else's clock. Money freedom, earn as much as you want, whenever you want, the residual income, etc. And then the freedom to grow. You're not limited on somebody else's clock. You can learn whatever, however, as much as you want. And so that really was like, wait a minute. It had my wheels spinning like, okay, so you don't really just have to, go to school and work like, the world and society teaches us, right? So, my best friend, a few of us, we were like, wait a minute, okay, this is different. And so from there, we really started attending different webinars and different meetings and different events, again, based on like, okay, that mindset was we can really do more. Like we're in school, we're doing things, we're playing basketball, and I ended up pledging a fraternity, and we're able to do things, but there's a different side, right? You don't just have to do what society says. And so that was really the catalyst to me thinking differently, to me, wanting to pursue a better life, looking back on how I grew up and my family grew up, but just really having that experience and that mindset of, okay, I can really do something different, which tied back to my entrepreneurial journey.
Gotcha. So I put here, your eyes are open to understanding success through education and better living. Would that be accurate? If not, that's okay.
Yeah.
I just like putting that there so that we can just get the barometer for how close we are to what you're expressing. So by all means, if it's wrong, say nope, that's not quite it, because that's the whole point. So what you're saying is that as a freshman in college, you were given the opportunity to go on this American Express interview. Was it kind of like a college job fair kind of a thing, or?
It might have been. I'll be honest with you. I can barely remember what I did 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
But yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was kind of like a profession, like a meeting, webinar, some business meeting.
Okay.
Might have been an interview, to be honest.
Okay. So when you say interview, like you showed up for them to interview you, or was it kind of like a panel discussion where people were being interviewed amongst each other and you were on in the audience
So
actually
we
watching?
went. So I believe it was an interview where our career services director set up interviews for us, but the beginning portion of it was them going over what American Express was about, the company, the benefits, just
Okay.
kind of like that initial prep talk before
Okay.
the interview, right?
Okay. So the career services director was the one that was interviewing these individuals from
No,
Amex.
he was the one that set up the interviews for us.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah,
they
yeah,
are
yeah.
okay. Got
Yeah,
it. Got it.
so,
Got it.
so
Okay. Great.
myself and a few other friends, we would
Okay.
go out. He would email and let us know, say, hey, you got an interview on this day at this
Gotcha.
time. Let me know if this works. And again, he would just literally send us out. We
Okay.
really didn't have much experience, but again, to get that experience,
Right.
in the workforce and what questions and experiences that we were going to come into.
Okay. So what about the big event? What happened after now this call to adventure, the catalyst that shifted your thinking? So I'm gonna put here like a shift, um, a mindset shift. What happened next? What was the thing that was just like mind blowing, or something happened before you decided, okay, I'm going to take full ownership and I'm deeply motivated to
Mhm.
go down a particular path? What was that thing?
So it was 2007 where I made the decision to actually start my first business. Leading up to that, I dabbled back and forth. I did mortgages, you name it, I did it. The whole multi-level relationship marketing. I've
Mm-hmm.
done that. Um, you name it, I did it. Right. And so when I
Mm-hmm.
graduated from college, it was one of those things like, okay, I have my degree now. What now? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
was in between jobs and started off working in banking and financial services and did well there, moved up the ranks. But again, that knack, like, okay, I know that there's more. So in
Yeah.
2007, I started my first business officially with I had a business partner at the time, and we taught financial literacy to students kindergarten through college. Okay,
Okay.
and I remember. So I had some ideas. I felt like it just wasn't complete, and then my business partner at the time said, "Hey, I got this idea. What do you think?" And we were just like, "Hey, it's this is right in line with what we want to do." So we started the business again, teaching financial literacy. We
Mm.
went to different high schools, colleges, even preschools. You know,
That's cool. That hey, that's so you didn't have a particular niche in education just yet. You just said everybody need to get this work.
no,
And
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely, and
for sure.
even at the kindergarten level, it was more so just teaching them about money, stories about money, what
Gotcha.
money is, and
Oh, that's good.
I actually developed a character, Dollar Bill, right, and so
I like that.
he was just an older gentleman. I had this whole get up. It was this whole get up where I
Uh,
would literally be, presenting in front of these kids and,
mm,
telling them, I need you guys, whatever you do, don't laugh at him. He hates to be laughed at. He's in the car sleeping. I'm going to go wake him up. And I would go back and change, right?
uh,
And
uh,
come out. I would have this Southern accent the best that I could. And I would come out and they just had a ball with it. Aren't you? Wait a minute. So it was fun. We made it fun, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that was with the younger ones, but again, with the older
Mm,
ones, it was talking about the credit cards, your credit report, budgeting,
okay.
savings, things of that nature. And I was actually fortunate. Actually, I'm sorry. Let me back up. So 2007, we started the business. We had it for about
Mhm,
3.5 years.
mhm.
Um, Things happened. We had to go our separate ways. Things
Okay.
didn't work out. Had a decent amount of success with
Okay.
the business, but again, that big call was, okay, you have this information,
Mhm,
you've done things a little bit differently, you've gone to these webinars, you've dibbled and dabbled in certain arenas, and
mhm.
so it's time. it's time, start the business. And so that was kind of like that pull the trigger moment, like, okay, this is what we're gonna do.
Okay. So you started the business, and then did you, when the split happened, did the business shut down? Did the business have to close, or what
Yes.
happened? Okay.
Yep. So we
Okay.
so we decided to dissolve
Okay.
the business. And for me personally, it
How
was a
long after,
challenging time.
if you don't mind disclosing? So how long after, when you opened it in 2007, did you have to dissolve it?
It was 2010, 11, somewhere around there. Just about 3.5 years, just over 3 years. But
Gotcha.
it was challenging. It was because number one,
Mhm.
we were really good friends. We
Mhm.
really were. I know, her family, and then eventually when she, got married and started her
Yeah.
family, we were really good friends, and so we
So
had
it was it because of relational challenges? Would that be safe to put there? Or
absolutely,
okay.
absolutely, absolutely. And so after that, I was like, okay, what do I do? Do I
Mm,
start over? Do I leave it alone? This is a vision that I had, right?
right.
So for a
Right.
minute, for a while, to be honest, with the doubt, with the frustration, with the feeling like, a failure, because I had this motivation, I had all of this going on. We got, we got the bag, and it was like,
Yeah.
okay, now what?
Yeah. So
Okay,
you tasted success,
right.
and then you had to dissolve the business, and so now you're back to asking, instead of what now, now what? I like that. I like that you started with after you graduated, it's now what, and so now after the business, it's or what now, and then after the
Mhm.
business, it's now what. That's interesting. So, what in this piece, and you may not have gotten to it yet, but what in this has been like the was it the creating of the business, seeing your passion, right? Seeing the call to adventure, this mindset shift, and realizing, okay, wow, through success, I mean through education, through better living, clearly through especially the influence of Amex, right? Financial literacy, you're going to be able to change not just you but other people. Was the big event the fact that you had to close down the business, because closing down the business might have felt at that time like you were also shutting down your dream?
Yeah, I think for me, a big part of it was, feeling like I was a failure.
Mm, okay.
And having these big dreams, having these goals, having these aspirations, and it not working out. You put so
Yeah.
much into it, you stay up late, the sacrifices, you're all excited about it. I remember when I came home, the young lady that I was dating at the time, I mean, I was excited. I know what
Mhm.
I want to do. I got
Yeah.
it. This is what we're
Yeah.
gonna offer. This is what it's gonna be. And she literally looked at me like, oh, okay, great. How much money is that gonna make?
Like pursuit of happiness.
I'm
Like,
right. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know, but this is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna do this, that. I'm just rambling, 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 telling her things. Oh, okay, can you retire off of that? And I mean, just
yeah.
the
Yeah.
air just
Deflated.
deflated. And so,
Yeah.
overcoming those challenges when people don't see the vision and see what you see, and that internal challenge, and frustration, and overcoming the self-doubt, and
Yeah.
knowing that you really have something. And so that was kind of like a pivotal moment, excuse me, for me, in overcoming that. And so I essentially started another business.
Wait, so I'm going
Right.
to pause there.
Yep.
Is this starting of another business, would we consider this the midpoint, the thing that is going to okay.
This is kind
So
of like in between, on the way.
okay. So
Yeah.
let's see. Let's unless I want to experiment with something here.
Yep.
Let's skip over you starting the new business
Okay.
and get to the point of I'm all in. This is the thing where I made it. And then if we have to go back, then you can give the context
That's
that the
fine.
other business was the thing. But I'm gonna just put a little caveat, just a little note. Let me just zoom out here right quick and put this in here so that we can just say that you started another business, but we're going to put that right here in this little area,
Mhm.
since that's the in between. Talk to us about the midpoint. What was that thing that was like, okay, I'm now deeply motivated just before the crisis happened? What did you do?
Um, so the midpoint for me actually came in two sections, in two waves, right? So my company now, Take Flight Enterprises, was established in 2013, officially on the books, right? Um, in 2011, I went back into, again, shortly after everything happened. This is not the business that I was referring to, but I went back into relationship marketing, doing skincare, right? So there was a group of friends that we went out to lunch, and a colleague of mine at the time started talking to me about a wealthy friend that she knew that was literally making about $1 million a month. No lie, true story, right? And so after hearing that, I would always, I went to another friend, and every time I saw him, hey, I would just throw my arms out, kind of like an airplane, just based off the story, that he went to, he did the houses, he did the cars, this wealthy friend that she was referring to. He bought the houses, bought the cars. He was trying to find, things to do with his money. So he bought the houses, bought an island, bought airplanes and all of that. And just hearing that, I would just throw my arms out every time I saw him, like, hey, kind of like a call to action. It's things, something's about to happen, right? Yeah. So that was 2011, 2013, when she was my interest then, my wife, when we first met. We spent hours and hours just, talking, courting. I didn't get the green light to go into her apartment just yet, right? But we would spend hours just literally talking about life, about dreams, about goals, and our families, history, etc. And I remember one night when we were outside of her apartment just talking, and I'm literally just talking, and it literally came out. Yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, we're about to take flight, do da 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 da. And she started talking. I was like, wait a minute. That's it. Take flight. I'm connecting the two now, right? The arms and take flight. And she was like, what are you doing? Why are you so excited? It's 1 o'clock in the morning, right? And I started explaining to her everything that was going on and everything that happened, right? And so from there, I got it, again, just being excited and high off life. Started getting to work and designing concepts. And so the midpoint for me, the aha moment was, wait a minute, slow down. Because before, I prayed for success along the way, but didn't stop and really ask, like, okay, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, I need you to confirm it. Again, this business was coming about. I was deciding to go back to graduate school. And then later on, again, when we get to the crisis, pursued the call to ministry. And so much was happening. And I'm like, okay, I took a step back. You know what? Let me do this the right way. Right.
So I'm gonna put a pin there right quick. So when you had the Take Flight name, I put here that was coined, did you then establish the business and then took a step back, or the name was coined, you're like, oh, that's it, that's the name, and then you said, wait, let me take a step back before you established the business? I just wanted to get that out.
So take the official name, when it came out, that was coined first, because again, we were in the car and we were just talking. Paused, took a step back, prayed on it, put some things together, and then I officially established it. Yes.
Okay. So just, I'm gonna put it, prayed for clarity, because you know what? That is exactly, it reminds me that there's some patterns, man. There's some patterns between these stories that are being shared here. So I'm gonna put pray and then establishments. Okay, cool. So what would okay, I'm gonna let you continue. So you prayed for clarity, you then established the business. Is there anything else that we need to add before we actually hit the crisis? So you hit the business. What's happening? Did something great happen before there was a dive, or what? Or can we, or are we going to hit the crisis piece? What I want to know is, and you did say that this was an aha moment for you. So I want to put that there, and let's make that your aha moment. But anything else before we, this is the part where the soundtrack, starts swelling. The music is just the hills come alive at the sound
Yep.
of music, and then So is there anything else that we need to build before we
So
hit?
the only other thing I'll add is in that same context.
Mm.
So I was in the process of writing a children's book based on my experience with financial literacy, and I was in the process of writing a children's book. And I
Okay.
remember speaking to my best friend, and he was like, "Okay, that's great,
Mm.
but will that children's book get you out of the gate and where you need to be as it relates to Take Flight now?" So I had to switch gears. I had to
Mm.
pivot, and the
Mm.
financial literacy was cool, and that's still gonna happen. But I had that moment where I had to pivot and say, okay, you
Mm.
know what? I'm in a different mindset and different lane now. Okay, I need to start, pouring into this, Take Flight Enterprises, and I need to start writing and getting my thoughts down on paper. And so that's where the concept of, my book came about, the idea and the title came to me like a day after I spoke to him. So all of this was, illumination, ideas, everything was just,
Gotcha.
happening at the same time.
So you pivoted from financial literacy to, in a few words, what would you say that pivot was? Obviously, it's Take Flight. So how would you kind of put all of that
Just
together?
speaking, because again, prior to that, I was already speaking, but I never dubbed myself, I guess, speak a speaker
Okay.
or communicator. I was just
And
doing it.
and in what areas were you speaking now when you decided, okay, let's pivot from teaching financial literacy to speaking about what?
Inspiration, leadership, student development,
Okay.
self-awareness.
Gotcha. So let's put here student leadership, would you say? Or because maybe
Student development, and student leadership.
okay, development leadership. Okay, speaking. So you went from teaching one particular niche. So I'm going to put here, let's go teaching first, teaching financial literacy, to speaking on student development and leadership. Okay, cool. And that was a pivot that was made. And so this is just another aha, right? These are now people who are coming in and telling you, hey, maybe this is the direction that you should go. And like, of course, you prayed about it. It's like, yes, I need to. Okay, so now that we're there, what happens? What what crashes everything?
Um, the crisis for me was, and it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It was more so, I received a call to pursue ministry in 2000, and later that summer.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And it was scary, beyond
mm-hmm,
scary,
mm-hmm,
because I didn't grow up in a church. For those that don't know, I grew up under a different umbrella, different religion. I grew up Jehovah's Witness. So I was not aware. I didn't know anything about God or Jesus. I didn't know anything about, shouting, hollering, singing, nothing. I
uh,
didn't know
and
anything about it.
and
Um,
before you continue, this is interesting because there's a call here, the catalyst,
mhm,
and now there's another call here. So I'm interested to see how this is going to play out because we may have kind of two stories wrapped up into one, and if that's the case, we're probably going to have to do some unbundling. But
mhm.
it seems as if this is an interesting paradigm where there is a call to go into one direction, and now there's another call which has, in a sense, become not the call itself become the crisis. But I just wanted to throw that in there for people who are watching too, and they're probably like wondering, are these two catalysts?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. Stick with Elijah's story, and we'll find out together.
Mhm. So again, it was, I received the call to ministry. I was also debating, okay, I need to go professionally. I need to go back to graduate school. And so, it was a while since I've been in school, since I, received my undergraduate degree. And I'm like, okay, I know I received the call. I know, God visited me in a dream clearly that
Mm-hmm,
summer of
mm-hmm.
2013. So I
Mm,
saw it, the vision clearly, and heard him clearly.
yeah.
Um, but in my own, in myself, right, in my own thoughts and feelings, I didn't think
Right.
that it was possible to pursue
Mm,
graduate school and pursue ministry, or what I thought it entailed, at the
yeah.
same time. And so I literally had, as you know, believers, sometimes we sit there and we have this debate with God, right? Like, well, look, I know what you told me, so
Yeah.
let me
Yeah.
just go ahead and do this, and then I'll get back to you. I promise. Like we sit
Yeah.
there and have that debate. And
Yeah.
so for me, it was like, okay, well, if you don't do this at the same time, you're
Mm,
basically telling God that you don't trust him.
mm,
Right. And so it was a challenge, because not only was I working full time, I was pursuing the call of ministry. I was in graduate school. Granted, my wife and I were, dating and courting, and I was writing my book. And then there was a period in graduate school where I went full time. After my wife and I was preparing for to get married, and then after that,
mm,
expecting the birth of my daughter. So all of this was
mm,
happening, at the same time.
mm,
Uh,
mm.
all good things, but the pressure, the pressure of
Can I?
everything. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Gotcha. No, no, no. This is good. So I put here you wrestled with the idea of choosing the business versus being in ministry. Is that accurate?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Or should I say pursuing the business full time?
Business, yep, graduate school and ministry.
Okay. Oh, and so it was graduate school because of the ministry call?
No, no, no. I had already thought about
Okay.
going back to graduate school professionally, because I had
Okay.
just started, well, 2012. I started working part time in higher education. I became full time in
Okay.
2013, um, like November 2013. So I knew that
Gotcha.
opportunities would avail itself once I went back to graduate school.
Gotcha. Okay, so what you're saying is that the crisis is that from choosing one thing, this is my thing, take flight is the thing, you then have a dream. There's now an opportunity to go to grad school. And now what you're doing is you're wrestling between pursuing your business full time versus being in ministry full time and also doing grad school.
Yeah.
A lot. Okay. Gotcha.
Because
Gotcha.
I wasn't familiar with the church. It was foreign to me. I
Yeah.
didn't know anything about it, and so
Mhm.
that's, if I'm being honest, that scared the living daylights out of me.
Yeah. Okay. So grad school wasn't the scary piece. I think that are you saying that that was probably going to be the thing you're going to do anyway?
I was, again, I would believe it to be that it was still scary, because again, it's academics, and given my history in college
Right.
and in high school, I
Got you.
believe I was the best student. I knew I
Okay.
had to do it, but again, sifting through and pushing through the doubts of, well, this is what your transcript says from high school and college.
It's
What makes
good.
you think
It's
that you can
good.
excel here?
Yeah. Okay. So let's do this. Let's do this. Pursuing your business full time. We're gonna put here, and we're gonna add here that there is uh uh just for sake. Let's just say that there is fear. I'm gonna tell you why. So you wrestle with the idea of pursuing business full time. The reason why there's a fear there is because you had a previous business failure, especially with a good friend.
Right.
Okay. And maybe I'm just gonna make it longer. This is designed to keep it short. That's why I have the boxes here, but that's okay. Let's just rock this thing out. Then you have being in ministry full time, and the reason why that's a fear is because you weren't, for all intents and purposes, spiritual. Or I take that back. It wasn't. You weren't. How could we put this? You weren't. I say I don't want to use the word religious, but you weren't exposed to. What would the fear there be? How about you kind of line that out for me? Because you kind of just did, saying that being in ministry mean that you would have to be in the church setting, and you have never been in the church setting.
Right. So I think a lot of it came from uh, not feeling, from what I knew of being a
Mm,
minister was. And
mm,
I wasn't exposed to that. I didn't know anything about it, and because I didn't grow up in the church, I said, me,
mhm,
like, Me?
Mhm,
You're calling
mhm,
me?
mhm, mhm.
Absolutely not. I'm not worthy enough. The inadequacy.
Yeah,
How can someone like me, given the things
yeah,
that I've done, where I've been,
yeah.
you know what I mean? So I think that had a lot to do with it as well.
I'm gonna put on to take on a holy call. How about that? Not worthy to take on a holy call. I put holy in quotes there because of how you're describing. I mean, it is a holy call. We know it's a holy call, but and then versus attending grad school because of high school. So this is a crisis. The reason why I had to write this out is because somebody's thinking, oh well, you had to choose between pastoral ministry and going to college and starting your business. Where's the crisis there, guys? The crisis isn't the opportunities that he's having.
Right.
It's because they're all stemming from something in the past. The first one is pursuing the business full time. He already did that. He tried it in the past. Most entrepreneurs have probably done multiple, but having created a business and having it fail with your good friend, which has also impacted not just the business but the relationship, that's a big deal. So
Right.
now it's this call: am I going to do this thing full time? Well, that can create crisis, but it's not crisis just yet. That's just one. It's compounded by now having this dream that he had no control over. I want you to go into pastoral ministry, but wait a minute. I don't have, or I don't believe that I'm even worthy of being called to be in such a type of position or role. There's no way. So now there's that feeling of unworthiness. And then it's compounded by knowing and understanding there's an opportunity to further his education in grad school, but the doubt of where he was back in high school. And this is what happens, guys. He skipped his whole college experience, went straight back to high school. We do this. We do this oftentimes. And so it's that doubt that now is compounding this crisis moment. Okay. I want y'all to get this because sometimes we think that the crisis has to be somebody died or there's a car crash. Nah, this is a huge crisis that happened in here because of the past experiences that Elijah has had. So what would we consider the climax? You have this dream. There's an opportunity to go to grad school. There's an opportunity to pursue your business. These opportunities, and I'm going to probably put that here. Your opportunities weren't really seen as opportunities as much as they were seen as um uh uh for right now, I'm just gonna put entrapment. just work with me here, right? It's like, this is a setup. If I do this will set me up for failure again. If I do this, somebody's gonna call me out on not being holy enough or worthy enough. If I do this, I just might fail like I was doing in high school. Not fail, but have this average GPA, which will reflect on, well, you were like that in high school, so clearly nothing. So entrapment. We're gonna go with that for now. What would be the climax? What would be the thing, the showdown? Obviously, I mean, we know it's obvious. The final showdown before your conclusion. What did you have to face? Who did you have to face? What did you have to overcome for you to actually be where you are right now?
So I had to ultimately face myself, right, and come to the understanding that, and I might be getting ahead of myself, so just let me know if I am.
No, you're good.
But I really had to meet myself and meet the opposition that was going on
Mm,
internally and ultimately do it afraid. Like, yes, there was fear. Yes, there was doubt. Yes, there was insecurities. Yes, 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 absolutely. There were nights where when my wife was pregnant and she was upstairs, sick and not feeling well. And I was like right where I am,
mm,
literally in tears, wondering
mm,
like, yo, how am I going to get all of this done? But
mm,
I had to face it because people were counting on me and I knew I had an assignment. I
mhm,
knew I had to
mhm.
do something. I couldn't just hide in fear. And so for me, it was the climax was when I started to do it afraid, when I started to not care about, excuse me, what it looked like
Yeah.
and really trust that I was taken care of,
Mhm.
right? Things started to, really take flight, so to say.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
preparing for the messages, doing the assignments in graduate school, seeing the success, and just getting promotions and whatnot, at work. So things really started to come together when I really started to trust God, trust His timing, trust the process,
So
and
so
really
so we're
my,
kind of slipping into the realization piece. I kind of
okay.
want to,
See,
yeah, I
that's
kind of want to
yeah,
sit. Yeah,
yeah,
it's cool.
okay.
I kind of want to sit in the climax just a little bit more. So let's do it this way. Let's ask the big question. What was the kind of the either or kind of, you know, the hook? Oh, what's gonna happen now? Is Elijah gonna, or is he gonna? What would that question have been for you in that moment before choosing to face yourself and choose to overcome fear, doubt, and insecurity? What would that climax question be?
It's simple. Either you're going to continue to run or you're going to face it.
Okay,
Pretty
let,
simple.
let's yeah, let's be even more specific based on the multiple the compounding elements here. um Grad school, ministry, entrepreneurship. What would the question be specifically for you, not necessarily, you know, just a broad stroke? We'll do that in a live application. But if you had to go back to yourself and ask yourself, okay, Elijah, you have this and this in front of you. um are you going to do blank or blank? How would you frame that question if you were to go back in time, look at yourself, and then ask yourself that question without leading them, without leading yourself to make an answer, but you really are asking yourself, what are you going to do? How,
Am I capable and am I able to do everything that's in front of me? Am I able to go to graduate school, be successful there? Am I able to pursue the call of ministry and be successful? Am I able to take care of my family with
mm,
a child on the way, graduate? Am I able to continue to do what I have to do at work?
yeah.
And so, it was a really, mentally, it was, just taking a step back and asking myself, okay, Elijah, can you really do this?
Yeah. Can you really do this? So I like that. So am I capable to do everything that's in front of me? Everything that's been, I'm going to reframe everything that's been presented in front of me while taking care of my family with a child on the way. That is in itself a heavy question. You didn't even need to add, you know, there's probably more to add to that, but
Mm.
yeah, am I capable? Am I able to do this? And by everything, we mean all of this, right? Am I capable to do? And I want to make it industry, business, so we know exactly what that is while taking care of my family with a child on the way. Okay. And then you had to face yourself and choose to overcome the fear, the doubt, and the insecurity. That's the person that you had to fight. So now let's talk about it. You're already on the path there. Let's talk about the resolution now, the realization. When you asked that question and you chose to face yourself, to fight yourself in order to make this happen, what is or has been the conclusion?
That I've been called and destined to do something different, something unique, that I am a vessel. And I was sharing with somebody the other day, I honor the office that I've been elevated and called to, the roles that I operate in. But
Mm,
ultimately, at the end of the day, I am a vessel to be,
mm,
used to assist, impact, and empower. One of my top gifts is exhortation or encouragement, right?
mm.
And looking back over the course of my life, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, yep, that's spot on. And so
That's it.
the realization for me was that you're destined to do great things, not just
Mhm,
because of the realization that I've come to, but because
mhm,
of what God says about me.
mhm,
Right.
mhm,
And so, I believe walking in that and embracing it. I was just talking to somebody yesterday,
mm,
embracing it fully. Like
mhm, mhm.
it's still, a challenge because of, I'm a
Yeah,
recovering perfectionist, right? I think
yeah,
it has to be
yeah,
perfect. And but
yeah.
but when you just release and let go, great things happen. So I think the realization was that, again, over the course of my life, I've had these different experiences, these different positions, these different jobs and whatnot, but it's all worked together to allow me to help and encourage those that are before me.
That's so good. So let's talk about where you are now, right? You're still doing the business. Let's round this out with, now that you have this realization, what's going on right now? And then I'll give you the time to shameless plug. You can go ahead and talk about what you're doing, where people can find you. So yeah, where are you right now that you've had this realization? What has happened since?
Absolutely. So Take Flight Enterprises, again, we are a company, small business in Connecticut, where we encourage individuals to really soar to new heights. I work primarily with first generation college students, equipping them, empowering them with strategies to really overcome the transition and overwhelm of transitioning to college, through speaking, my curriculum, my book, the principles in my book with the acronym F.L.Y.G.H.T, really deals with 6 principles that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. The F is facing the fears, which we've talked about. So those 6 principles serve as a foundation of how I assist and empower and encourage. Still working in higher education, enrollment services, and so assisting high school students transition, to college, getting them what they need.
You're doing high school too? Okay.
Well, high school seniors that are transitioning out.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Gotcha. At higher ed. Okay.
On the corporate side, I work with corporations and companies, leadership development on effective communication, team building with a program that I have, and just really looking to just continue making an impact where I'm headed, the road that I'm on. Married, I have a husband, father, my wife of we'll be 5 years this year.
Congrats.
Thank you. 2 beautiful children. My daughter, I call her my 3-nager. She's a 3-year-old with teenager tendencies. And our son, Elijah Jr., he's 15 months.
So in other words, you made it out on the other side.
Yes, absolutely.
And you know what? So I'm going to put a healthy family with wife, 2 kids, and you're happy. And the reason why I wanted, also,
serving as youth pastor at my church, the First Cathedral in Bloomfield, Connecticut, 3 years. So thankfully we're doing something. We're on the pandemic has definitely some things, but
and let's talk about, so you did grad school. Did you graduate?
Yes. So I graduated in 2000. Oh yeah. Okay. Graduated 2018 with my master's in counselor education. The specialization is student development in higher education. And actually the day that I graduated was the day that my daughter turned 2 years old.
Oh, wow. So I graduated with a master's in counselor ed. Was that right?
Counselor education. Yes. Master's in counseling. Yes.
Great. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to zoom out. And after I go through this, we're going to do the life application right quick. This one was a little bit lengthy, but that's okay, because we have to kind of unpack some things and kind of dive a little deeper. So let's go into your. Say that again.
No, I just said, my bad, everybody.
No. This is the work. This is the work, and this is the beauty of this thing. Not everybody or not every story is going to be clear cut and simple. Sometimes you have to kind of untangle some things to really get to the meat of what it is. So the backstory: Elijah Oliver from New York City. He started out as average student, about C minus, considered the class clown or voted class clown in his yearbook. But he also had an entrepreneurial spirit. So when it came to like selling snacks, cutting the lawn, shoveling snow, he was that person. However, he didn't take his education seriously. But here was the call to adventure, where he was a freshman in college now, and his career services director created or facilitated for this interview to happen, where these Amex professionals, American Express individuals, were interviewing these students, Elijah being one of them, and they exposed them to the 3 freedoms: the freedom of time, the freedom of money, and the freedom to grow. or time freedom, money freedom, and growth freedom. And his eyes, along with some others, but his eyes was open to understanding that success does happen, but he needs to get his education in order for that to happen. But there's also a mind shift of him having a better living by understanding not just these three freedoms, but the things that he was learning when he was in school. So there's the big event that kind of led to his midpoint. What happened was he graduated and he asked the question, well, what do I do now? So in 2007, he decided to start his first business, teaching financial literacy to all grades. But then he had to dissolve his business a few short years later because of challenges with his friendship. And we all know that one of the most challenging dynamics to do, especially when you go into business, is to go into business with your friends. It's tough. That's a tough thing to do. It is also a risk because not only do you dissolve the business, but sometimes you have to dissolve the friendship. And that's exactly what happened. So after the business closed, he switched from the what now after graduation to now what after the business closed. And so it's a big event because shutting down the business made him feel like a failure, made him feel as if he was shutting down his dream. Remember, he had a mini, not a huge, but a mini aha moment here, the catalyst, the call to adventure, which caused him to say, okay, you know what? I want to do something. I want to make an impact, but it didn't feel as if that impact succeeded. So he started another business in the meantime, but the midpoint was really when this setup 2011, he's a part of an MLM skincare business, and there was a $1 million testimonial, and he started doing this kind of open wide, this arms gesture whenever there was this like success that was happening. And so he's continuing to do this until one day in his courting phase, the aha moment in 2013 for Take Flight was coined because he realized that every time he was opening up his arms, that's really what he was doing for the individuals who were giving him success stories. He was saying, listen, you guys are taking flight. And so that aha moment was coined into a name, but he didn't want to move just yet. He wanted to do some things differently than his big event where the business closed. He needed to seek some clarity. So he looked for God to give him the confirmation that this was the business that he should start. He started the business, and yet there was another aha moment to pivot from teaching financial literacy to now speaking motivationally and inspirationally to students for their development and also their leadership. But we all know that when you decide to take on in deep motivation, not just the call to your adventure, but starting to cross the threshold into the special world, which is what he did the second time for this new business that he has decided to create, a crisis emerged. But it wasn't just any ordinary crisis. It wasn't a car crash. It wasn't anything like that. What really happened was that more opportunities started to pile up. So he had a dream from God to pursue ministry. There's an opportunity to go to grad school. And these created these fears because wrestling with the idea of pursuing his business full time brought him back to when he first failed with his friend. Uh, the being in ministry was also a fear because he didn't feel worthy to be part of such a holy call. I mean, he was never really on the church scene like that to begin with. So how on earth, why on earth would God call him to do something that didn't feel like that was just part of his thing? But he was called nonetheless. The last one was attending grad school, took him right back to high school where he was voted class clown, when he was that C- average student. So these opportunities might have felt like an entrapment. Is this a setup? Am I going to go into business again and fail? Am I going to go to grad school and be deemed the average person that I was deemed at some point before in high school? Am I going to go into ministry and people call me out because I'm not worthy enough? That's the crisis, guys. But the climax leads to the big question. Am I capable to do grad school, ministry, and business while taking care of my family with my first child on the way? So he had to face himself and choose to overcome fear, doubt, and insecurity. And guess what, guys? He did. He had the realization that he had been destined to fulfill not just his many roles, but to do great things in each of them. And as a recovering perfectionist, he is now empowering higher ed students through speaking and consulting companies through leadership development. He's also serving as a youth pastor. We're talking about the things that he said he couldn't do. Now he's doing them, right? So he's doing the business. He's still a youth pastor at his local church, and he did graduate with his master's in counselor education. But not only that, guys, he has a healthy family with a wife, and not one, but now two kids, and they're happy. Elijah, that is your story.
Thank you.
That was a mouthful, but So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna like skip down to now the life application phase stage. And what are some big points that we can take from this that will allow people to say, okay, that's great that you have a specific story, but what about me? What could we boil down all of this into?
Absolutely. So I think the first thing, you know, they say if you were to go back to your 17, 18-year-old self, what would you tell yourself back then, right? I
Mhm.
think the first thing that I would tell myself and tell others, first and foremost, you got to believe. You got to believe in yourself. And it's cliche, but if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. And there's a difference. I've learned that there's a difference between having confidence and belief. You can have
Mhm.
the confidence to get up and do what you do, but not
Yeah,
necessarily believe that you can do it, but believe
gotcha.
that you're worthy enough to do it. So believe in yourself is number one.
Mhm. Okay. What would be number two?
Number two, overcoming, just facing your fears. Everybody is going to be faced with it. No one is exempt.
Mhm.
But just overcome your and face your fears. You got to do it head on.
Okay. What would be the third thing?
The third one would essentially be, I think you got to master your thoughts and master your mind. There has to be a mindset shift. It goes a little bit back to believe, but you have to take control of your thoughts. The fear, again, those inadequate thoughts, things are going to happen, but just take control of your thoughts.
Okay, I'm gonna put your take. Remember, these are things that are leading up to the realization that you now have. So believe in yourself, face your fears, take control of your thoughts. Anything else?
Um, you can't do it alone. I've learned through, my coach, you can only get to a certain place by yourself.
And a
So
support system.
yes, you need a strong support system, not just people that could cheer you on, but someone who's
Mm,
going to assist in your development,
yeah,
getting you to the next level on where you need to be. Uh,
got it.
and
Okay.
then I would finally say, well, I guess we can rearrange these, but for me,
Mhm.
for me, prayer, my belief in God is huge. My faith plays a huge role, right? And if this not, and if that's not who you are, that's okay. I can give you another one.
Mhm.
But just execute. You got to take action. You got to execute on the things that you say you want to do.
Gotcha. So I'm going to put here stay connected, and I'm going to put here prayer. Because all of it, it's also staying grounded. So for those who, if it may not be prayer, then
Meditation.
meditate. Um, yes, put that in there. And I know what you mean, having to shift some things around. So let's go ahead and do that. So support system, taking control of thoughts, facing fears, believing in yourself, staying grounded. All right. Yeah, your local church would have had you if you didn't put none something in there. And they saw this, they're like, oh, pastor.
What you mean?
Cool, Elijah, man. I really appreciate you just
I
taking the
appreciate
time,
you.
being
Thank you.
transparent and vulnerable. Before we go, where can people find you? And I'm just gonna put that right here in the middle. What yeah, where do you want people to find you and with what you're doing and just and how they should reach out?
Absolutely. So my website is takeflightent.com. So TAKEFLYGHTENT.com. That is my website. A lot of what I do, and you can learn more about my services and what I do on my website. I'm on Facebook, Elijah A. Oliver Sr. I'm on LinkedIn as well.
Okay.
Primary activity has been strengthened there. Instagram, Elijah underscore A underscore Oliver on Instagram. If you want to reach out to me via email, it's Elijah at takeflightent.com.
Okay. All of that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. Elijah, this was great. It was enriching. And I can't wait to see how your story continues to unfold because, yeah, this is good.
Thank
And
you.
not only is it good, it's inspiring. So for those of you that are watching, listen, you have a story, and not only do you have a story, you're the hero. You're the hero of your own journey. So, like Elijah just said here at the very bottom, believe in yourself, face your fears, take control of your thoughts, find a strong support system. But even before all of that, you need to stay grounded. Are you meditating? Are you praying? How are you making sure that you do even have a belief structure so that when you choose to believe in yourself, your groundedness will actually support that? Guys, this has been What's Your Story with Elijah, Chris Bartley. We out. But Elijah, stay on though, because we're going to talk.